Hello LinkedIn. This video is for Ashley, Shirley, and I'm going to show you how to wire a push button. In this case, this one. This is what Amber Wilborn calls dirty blue, although it may have been Mary Bruce, but someone at TW Controls labeled these. Maybe it was Wendell, I don't know. Somebody called this dirty blue, and I totally agree. It's kind of like brown and blue. It's kind of weird blue. These were donated to Kids PLC kits, but they have a normally closed and a normally open contact on the back, if you see. And the normally closed one obviously is closed until you push the button, and that'll open it. And then the normally open one is open until you close it with pushing it. So that's kind of what the normally open, normally closed means, is like what state is it in until it's actually actuated. In this case, this is like a spring return. This is not like a latching button. There's different kinds of buttons, but this one, it's just a momentary. Means that it just comes back with the spring. But once you do that, the PLC will have seen it if we wire it the way I'm going to show you how to do that. This is kind of the drawing of what I'm going to do. So there's 24 volts DC. Going through the push button, I'm going to do the normally open contacts. So I drew it like that. If it was closed, the little latchy thing at the top would look like it was touching the circles. And then the PLC input. And I just put PLC input number 1. The PLC I'm going to use is this Allen Bradley Micro 850. And the bottoms are outputs, but the tops are actually inputs, they say. See those eyes? And I'm going to wire it to this input I00. So that's the input number 1. So I have some blue wire. This is, so you want to do plus 24 volts DC in blue. That's, UL or NEC. That's normal in the US. I know that in Europe, I've seen blue as like the common. But yeah, so I'm going to use blue. This is a weird cable, but for this, it doesn't matter. You would want to use like, THHN or whatever, but so I got it coming off a roll that I'm not going to move the camera for that, but I'm just going to cut a piece off here with some cutters. I mean, there's different kinds of cutters, but I really like these Knipex ones with the dual hinge. And then, we need to, now we have these wires, but we got to strip them just enough to feed it into this. You don't want to leave a whole bunch of like bare wire coming out of the top of the terminal that we're going to put this in. So I got these Phoenix contact strippers that I really like. This is the Wirefox CS or 6SC. And, in here this is adjustable, like how much wire you leave exposed. So I'm going to back that up a little bit and do a little bit less, just because this isn't going to be that big. So I'm going to grab that and strip that, both sides. That's a very satisfying noise to me. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. I maybe didn't need to do as much, but it is adjustable. See, I didn't do as much on this side, but I did more on the other side. So then you need a terminal screwdriver. Some of these terminals are so small, like you really don't want to be like shoving a giant flathead in there. So, and these terminal screwdrivers, I got a couple of them here. Like this one's Weha, this one's Vera, and then I got a Klein, which is the American brand. But what they all have in common is they got the swivel on the end, so you can actually just like put it in place and then just start spinning it. It's just nice to have that swivel on the end. You don't have to have it, like you can do without it, but it's really handy to have that. So I'm going to put, one end of this blue cable that I just did into the PLC input. So I said I was going to do input 1. So I'm going to lock that down. If you want to do best practices, you want to use ferrules, but I'm not going to do ferrules on this one. You'd have to have the right size ferrule and then crimp the right size crimp and put, crimp it on the metal to metal part. You can use, insulated or non-insulated ferrules, but I like insulated ones. And And then the button, there's terminals on the button. So I'm going to use the normally open. So I'm going to use the green side. So this side. The red side is the normally closed side. And here, when you push the button, you can see the contacts coming in. So I just want one side of this. It does not matter which side, because it's labeled 3-4. So I'll probably put 4 from here, and then I'll put the plus 24 volts on the 3. So I kind of back up. Ooh, that's tight on there. Lefty loosey, right? So see how I can do that without actually like, because I'm like putting it against my hand. The swivel is amazing. So then I'm going to put that in here and then lock it down. And like just test that, like always pull on your connections and make sure that they're in there. Same thing with like on the PLC side, like tug on that. You don't have to rip on it, but like just tug on it so that it's not easy to slip out. So now I got like one side of this, and now I need another wire. So I'm going to cut another little piece. This is just a demo. I used diagonal cutters this time. Like I have a bunch of random tools. Same thing. I got to strip both sides. And now I'm going to put it on the other side of that. So I'm not going to use the normally closed side. I'm only going to do the normally open side. You can use both, like, and that's actually normal to use both in different scenarios, but I'm going to back this out again. Damn it. This screwdriver's too small. So I need these little screwdrivers for this, but then for this I need like way bigger ones. So I do have bigger ones, beefier ones, because I wouldn't use, this is another Vera, but it's like a bit different size flathead. So that one's easier to pull this out because these are like beefier screws. So now I put my, so now I'm going to go into 3. It was labeled 3 and 4 for the normally open side. So back that up. Get the, sometimes I like, because these strands, like this is stranded. So I want to have, you know, I kind of twist it together before I put it in the terminal, and then tighten that while it's in there. And then always check. So now I got basically a connection through there. So anytime I push the button, I'm connecting, you know, side 3 and side 4 together. And then, you know, anytime you release, it lets that go because this is a spring return momentary push button. And then this is the tricky side. So this is where I have to provide this other side, right? So this is like, if there's voltage here and you press the button, then the PLC input will see the button or the signal only when you press the button. But you do need to provide basically a common 24 volt DC, not the common, but you plus 24 volt DC. And so you need that to come from somewhere. Typically you'll have, here's some terminal blocks. Typically you'll have like a set of these that are jumpered together, so that, because you don't really need individual 24 volt DC. You can do that too. But you can do something called, where's the jumpers? There's different kinds of jumpers. Some of them get like slide in. I mean, it just depends on the terminal block. These are, ew, I don't like these. These are screw type. So I have to screw these in to these terminal blocks, and then they fit in here. I'll give you an example. Oh my God, I don't like these. Those don't even feel like they fit in here. Basically, like, if you want to jumper a whole bunch of these together, then they all see the same 24 volt DC. So, I mean, and these are called, okay, I got it in there. So see, so you could just put a whole bunch of these together and then just feed that 24 volts. And then you just have like several places to pull 24 volts from. That way you could do all your inputs that way. I'm just doing one input, but yeah, you can, and then these screw in. And so these are really, you know, a pain in the butt, but they're definitely solid. They're maybe more reliable. I don't know. I don't like them, but Sometimes you do need them because you maybe have higher voltages. Like, you don't need this for 24 volt DC input, but yeah, I put one screw in there. Like, you have to put the screw in every single one of these. And so there's a ton of these screws here, which I can't believe they're like loose. Usually they're actually like at least, you know, stuck to the jumper. Or the jumper doesn't even have screw type. It's just like the kind that you press in. But anyway, I have a power supply here. And I'm just going to go straight to the power supply, but you should probably bring the power supply to a bunch of terminals, like I just showed you, so that you can wire all your inputs to that common, you know, basically it's like a header, but for the plus and the minus. But just obviously they're not tied together, or you'll just short. But you have, you know, all your plus 24 volt DCs together, and all your minus 24 volt DCs together, and you just use them as you need them. That's kind of why they call it zero or DC common, is because they're all stuck together. So this is a Pulls power supply. Thank you, Pulls. This is actually also donated to Kids PLC from Pulls. And then the push button was donated to Kids PLC kits from TW Controls. And then I donated this controller to my causes. But I'm going to, so see, there's plus and minus DC. And then this is, it says 24 to 28 volts DC. So this PLC wants these inputs in 24 volt DC. You can, there are PLCs where the inputs are, you know, plus 120. You can spec that, but it's really normal to do this in 24 volts DC. It's safer. And yeah, it's just nicer. So, and that's what I'm used to doing. And then, you know, I'm not going to wire this thing, but obviously, like, you could hook this up to the wall. You should do it with a breaker. But see, the bottom of it is the feed for this thing is the wall out, or the plus 120 volts from the wall, single phase. So you have L is where the black wire would go, N is where the white wire would go, and then you should ground this thing. I'm just going to show you how to wire it. Like, so I want the plus. So I'm literally, and actually this is kind of cool because this is like I guess a spring clamp, like with a little lever. I haven't seen a lot of these, but I mean, that's pretty useful. So I'm actually just going to put, oops. Oh, that's the closed position. Oh, cool. Okay, so it was already open. I didn't know that. So with these levers down, that's open. So I'm going to put this wire in here and then close it. And you want to make sure that you're not closing on the insulation, because then that's not good. You want to be closing on the metal. So now I have like this full circuit. So if this is on, then I'm providing 24 volts DC to one side of the push button. And then whenever I push the button down, because I use the normally open contacts, whenever I push this button down, you know, it's wired all the way to the PLC input. And there's obviously more that needs to happen. You need to have, you know, the input to the power supply turned on. It's better if you just run this, you know, these two pluses to a set of terminals that are jumpered together. Obviously don't use, this is a ground terminal block, don't do that. This is actually like grounded to the DIN rail. These are not, like, this is just plastic floating over the DIN rail. So you want to use these normal ones that are not grounded. And you'll find out if you ground this 24 volt DC, it's not going to work. Or you'll be sorry. Not sorry, but yeah, you'll learn. But yeah, if you bring a bunch of these together and jumper them, you know, with the screw terminal block or the screw jumper, this style just uses that. I don't know where this is from. This is from like Amazon. I don't know. It's made in China. So this was before the tariffs, LOL. Yeah, and so you would want to do that, you know, in between here, in between the push button. That way you could put a whole bunch of push buttons or whatever your inputs are, your discrete inputs are. You could, you know, have them all individual. And then the individual signal that comes to the input has to go through whatever your input device is. So, you know, you would label that in the code like push button 1 or blue push button or whatever. And then you can, you know, write code from there to do what you need to do. But yeah, that's basically like how to wire one input. And just to remind you, like, this is kind of what we did. And then, yeah, so we'll see what the next video is.